Hello and welcome to Recyclist. It's March 23rd, 2026. I'm your host, Eric Provost, and this is your weekly roundup of all the biggest news stories from the world of waste, gas, and energy, presented by Diamond Scientific. First things first, and as always, let's take a quick look at the stock market and several stocks on the move from this past week in the world of waste, gas, and energy. The ongoing Iranian conflict is having a substantial impact on the stock market. Waste Management is currently sitting at $230.58 per share. Waste Connections went into the weekend at $162.65 per share. GFL Environmental now at $40.76 per share. Republic Services Incorporated now at $219.61 per share. Montauk Renewables at $1.11 per share. And Casella Waste went into this past weekend at $77.37 per share. But moving into the news, first up, as a follow-up from our story on the current Iranian conflict last week, the fighting has now all but halted oil exports through the critical Strait of Hormuz. While the key supply line continues to be contested, experts in the renewable energy industry point to the situation as an example of why reliance on fossil fuels needs to end. About 20% of global oil exports travel through the strait, a fact which is already impacting economies around the world, with not only rising gas prices, but severe impacts to industries which still use oil in the production of things like fertilizer and plastic, among many other products. James Bowen of Remap Research compared the conflict to video game programming, saying, quote, "These crises regularly occur. They are a feature, not a bug, of a fossil fuel-based energy system," end quote. And up next, speaking of the Iranian conflict, this past week, a coalition of trade associations wrote a letter to President Donald Trump urging him to immediately finalize the 2026 and 2027 renewable fuel standards, which they claim would unleash U.S. biodiesel and renewable diesel production to bolster America's energy security during the conflict with Iran. Among the coalition members was Clean Fuel Alliance America, the American Soybean Association, National Energy and Fuels Institute, and others. In part, the letter reads, quote, "The biodiesel, renewable diesel, and sustainable aviation fuel industry is ready to meet the challenge of providing crucial supplies of diesel fuel free from overseas threats. The RFS rule should be finalized as quickly as possible. Continued delays in finalizing and publishing the RFS rule would extend market uncertainty for farmers and stakeholders across our value chain, as well as exacerbate the recent spike in diesel fuel prices," end quote. And next, this past week, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency released its final air pollution rules for new and existing municipal solid waste combustors. Per the Clean Air Act, the updated guidance was originally due in 2011, but was subject to repeated delays, including a nearly 4-year court case brought by environmental groups. The final guidance lowers limits for 9 pollutants released at the stack. According to the agency, the new restrictions are projected to reduce the amount of particulate matter, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, hydrogen chloride, lead, cadmium, mercury, carbon monoxide, and dioxins and furans released into the atmosphere by almost 3,300 tons per year. And up next, in the world of extended producer responsibility, Oregon lawmakers recently passed House Bill 4144, requiring producers of certain batteries or battery-containing products to join a responsibility organization and carry out an EPR program. During testimony, more than 90% of speakers provided support for the bill. Under the bill, the EPR program would start by July 1st, 2029. An estimated 1.4 million pounds of single-use and rechargeable batteries are disposed of in Oregon each year. And just a quick reminder, Recyclist is a registered trademark of Diamond Scientific, an industry leader in gas analysis, instrumentation, and solutions. Make sure to visit them online at diamondsci.com. That's diamondsci.com. Or you can even set up a personalized presentation just by calling 321-223-7500. Now on with the news. Germany's largest power producer, RWE, is joining other overseas companies expanding their energy production footprint into the U.S. with the announcement of projects totaling 9 gigawatts of new net capacity to be added by 2031. The announcement comes as part of RWE's global corporate strategy update, in which over $40 billion US was affirmed for the company's global investment plans through 2031, of which nearly $20 billion alone is allocated to projects in the US. RWE executives said the company's U.S. strategy is centered on flexible generation in high-growth markets where power demand is rising rapidly, particularly from the rise in data centers. Up next, Italian-based AB Energy also announced it is expanding its U.S. footprint with a new headquarters in The Woodlands, Texas. The new headquarters will serve as the central hub for AB Energy's North American subsidiaries and commercial operations. The company says the move reflects their, quote, plans to scale operations as electricity demand increases across sectors ranging from manufacturing to digital infrastructure, end quote. The company has operated in the U.S. since 2014 and has already developed projects across multiple industries, including wastewater treatment, agriculture, healthcare, and manufacturing. And up next, Tokyo-based JERA Co. recently submitted a proposal to build a renewable gas-fired generator facility to replace aging oil-fired generators currently being used to power much of Hawaii's Oahu Island. Although this move to renewable energy was strongly disputed and even claimed dead following accusations of a $1.2 billion calculation error, the proposal suggests the transition is indeed moving forward. Hawaii Governor Josh Green said, quote, this proposal represents a transformative overhaul of our electrical grid and a tangible step to move Hawaii off its historic dependence on oil. Through this partnership with JERA and its partners, we are bringing billions of dollars in new energy investments to Hawaii, securing more affordable, reliable energy for the people of our state, end quote. And lastly, Impact Technologies recently announced a new 6-year agreement with Moss Energy Works, the U.S.'s largest dairy digester developer and operator, to provide support across 56 renewable energy projects. Under the terms of the agreement, Impact will deploy its Nexus IQ platform to not only oversee PWA compliance during the construction of new RNG facilities, but manage compliance for operating RNG projects as well. Daryl Moss, the CEO of Moss Energy, said, quote, partnering with Impact allows us to focus on building and operating renewable energy that works. In this industry, we need to make sure our construction and operations work complies with a lot of standards. Impact's expertise and technology platform gives us confidence that we can preserve long-term federal tax credit value, end quote. And that will do it for your March 23rd, 2026 news roundup, brought to you by Recyclist. Once again, a registered trademark of Diamond Scientific. I've been your host, Eric Provost, and we will see you back here next week for another brand new episode of Recyclist. Thank you.